Hey guys, welcome back to the Sean Trey Show. I am going to be branching out into a different direction. I've been for a long time really focusing in on interviewing people and talking to people and finding about their lives, finding out about what they do and how they do it, and just what makes them tick and what are the things that bring inspiration to their life. But I want to kind of go in a different direction and talk to people about specific topics. And honestly, I'm trying to speak about topics that I would love for my daughter to listen and to learn from someday. I think back about my own parents that I really wish that I could go back and have a conversation with my parents when they were younger. I wish that I could go back and glean from them every last bit of knowledge that they had. You know, we get older and time becomes more precious, and we often just get busier, and life takes us in different directions. And I'm not around my mom and dad every day. And when we get to see each other, like 90% of the time is focused on Ailani, which is totally awesome and totally understandable. But there's still information that I wish I had and that I know that my parents have. And that's what this is all about for me. This is about putting down this information for my daughter and for leaving something behind, which is what we're talking about in this week's topic. This week's topic is all about legacy. And what is your legacy? And when people hear the word legacy, they think about these great acts and about these people who have left behind amazing things, people whose names are written on the sides of buildings, people who have streets named after them, people who have composed works of art that have lasted for generations and millennia. Now, legacy can be twofold. On one side, we have the intangible aspects of legacy. These can be things like our values, the impact we made, the memories people hold of us. But they can also be tangible as well, things like possessions and achievements. Now, when I think about legacy, I think back about some of the lives that were touched by the people that I care most about. I think about my parents. My parents are still around and still are crafting their legacies. But I think about my uncle, who was an awesome man and larger than life type of guy. My uncle Ian was a radiologist, and when we were living down in rural North Carolina, when I was growing up down in the Asheville, Hendersonville area, my uncle was Doc Trace, and everyone knew Doc Trace. Doc Trace was a bigger than life man who was a radiologist down there. And he really was good at what he did. He was great at reading his films, and he worked at multiple hospitals in the area. And Doc Trace invested into different things. And one of the things that my uncle did was that he took a chance on his own imaging center, and he invested when the hospital didn't have the money to invest into the newer technologies and higher resolution CAT scans and MRIs. He put his money down. In this part of North Carolina where there wasn't this extra technology and the money for this extra technology, he was making an impact, be it by being able to get people quick, high resolution films and different types of consultations and diagnoses really fast without having to be life flighted to another major city. And this is a big deal because that made an impact on a lot of people's lives. He also gave back to the community. He made great money, and he was able to just give to everyone that he could. And what I see now that my uncle's gone, that there are still remnants of what he did that are radiating outward in his community. The community still, many people still remember Doc Trace. And for the people whose lives he immediately touched, they will have a memory for much longer. His memory sticks with me because he made such a huge impact on my life. And all of the things that I do are impacted by him. That's legacy. I think about the legacy that both of my parents left. My parents both worked in education. And my mom worked as a therapist, behavioral health therapist and counselor at the university I worked at. She worked at some schools. She worked in private practice. Thousands and thousands and thousands of people's lives were made better by the services she provided. by the services she provided and by the help that she gave. She touched many lives, and she's still helping people by shaping the lives of her grandchildren. And that is part of her legacy. My dad as well. He worked in business, and he always was trying to help people. Everyone knew Al Trace. He was a person who made an impact. And now, after he retired, he now runs a massage school. Why? Because he still wants to have an impact. He still wants to, and for him, it's not about legacy. For my dad, is not about being remembered. It's about making an impact while you're here. And that's one of the things that I really love. And one of the things that, I wanted to talk about when I talk about legacy. Now, there's different types and different areas of legacy. You can have scientific legacy. If we want to think about famous people, you could think about someone like Albert Einstein. His groundbreaking theory of relativity revolutionized our understanding of space, time, and gravity. This was a person who came in and took information and updated it. And the whole world is still talking about what that person taught. And granted, over time, sometimes we prove things wrong or we find things right, but Einstein's impact is definitely still being felt in the scientific community. You want to talk about artistic legacy? Think about someone like Leonardo da Vinci. His works like the Mona Lisa and the Last Supper continue to inspire and captivate audiences today. William Shakespeare. His plays and sonnets are considered some of the greatest works of literature in the English language, and many of the storylines that he created are still being used in movies today. Humanitarian legacy. Think about someone like Martin Luther King Jr. fighting against the segregation in the United States and the impact he made to create a better place for all of us to live in this world. His impact extends far beyond the United States, where he was active and where he was a huge part of the civil rights movement, to the whole world. You can also talk about someone like Nelson Mandela, who through all that he did, helped to be a huge part in ending apartheid in South Africa. And then not just ending apartheid, but being part of the healing of a nation, and South Africa being a place that everyone looked to see how will this turn out, and who are the great people that emerge to stand and lead this new direction and new generation. There's also, I like to think about technological legacy too. That's a cool area to talk about. Thinking about someone like Steve Jobs. Steve Jobs, who is now gone, who left a huge mark on the world with the vision and innovations that he used to transform computer, music, and the mobile industry, as well as animation, with what he did with Pixar. Steve Jobs left an impact that probably all of our lives are still influenced by. If you use a smartphone, if you have a phone that you have a touch screen, thank Steve Jobs for that. He wasn't the only one that took part of it, but he was a big part in making it look good and popularizing it. Now, these are all people who brought interesting, powerful changes to the world around us. And these are just a few. There are many, many, many more people who left amazing legacies and who have built things that you can remember for a long time. Some of my favorite, I'm not going to lie, I love Tolkien and his world from the Lord of the Rings world. It's this beautiful, beautiful imagination. And he created these languages and all of this art that stuck with us, all from this one person's legacy. All this one person just writing down information. Beautiful, powerful stories that shaped the world, that shaped the lives of many people. Why is it important to build a positive legacy? Well, to me, I think that we have one chance on this in this life, one chance on this planet to leave some type of mark. And granted, I'm not going to judge anyone for living their life the way they live it. Some people are here to enjoy the ride. Some people are just trying to get by. And if you're just trying to get by, there's no way that you can think about what your legacy is. Maybe you can, but it's really hard. But, even someone who is just trying to get by can be remembered for being awesome at what they do, for a long time. I juggled multiple careers, one working in media, the other working in education. And I was always trying to step away from education because it was something that I was doing while I was building my media career. And yet it became a core part of who I was. And I had a hard time with that. I had a hard time with being defined as a teacher until I got a letter from a student a couple years ago in which the student said that the impact that I had on her life was transformative, and that me teaching for life, not just teaching from a book, teaching about how to be strong, teaching about how to be courageous, teaching about how to find your way, was something that she had never received anywhere in any class and in any educational institution. And that it helped her decide what she wanted to do with her life. And that made me feel good. That was part of my legacy. And I think that we have this opportunity that, whether it be if you work at a restaurant, that's awesome. Way to go. Work at Starbucks. Cool. That's awesome. You will make many people very, very happy in their lives by giving them whatever it is that you're providing, and doing it with a smile, doing it with positivity, doing it with a positive attitude, and making it memorable. We have one life. What are you going to do with it? And I wish someone could have told me that sooner. I love my parents, but I wish that they had have instilled in me a sense of urgency to think about life and the fact that our time is finite. One of the things that I love that my mom did for me when I was a kid is that she gave us a ton of experiences. So I remember one summer, my mom put us into so many different classes. We got to go into martial arts class, tennis, golf. I'll try out all these different sports: bowling, football, soccer, volleyball. And I learned that summer a lot of what I didn't like. It was quite easy to figure that out. There were a ton of sports that I did not enjoy, but I also learned what I did like, and that was powerful. Now, when you start thinking about what legacy you want to leave, it's important to explore how contemplating your legacy can influence our present actions and future aspirations. So, okay, what does that mean? When you start thinking about the legacy that you want to leave, it starts changing the way you want to interact with the world now, and changing how you want to live now. And that is a big deal. So, let's look at our next step. Now, what are the elements of a positive legacy? Well, first of all, values. We can look at the values that we impart and their role in shaping our legacy. Now, I'm not talking religious values. Maybe those are part of your values. And if that is, that's beautiful. But more of what I'm meaning here is, what do you believe about life? What do you believe is important in life? For me, I believe that one of the most important things that a person can do is to leave the world better than they found it, to leave anything better than they find it. I absolutely love the Japanese football team, the soccer team. And I love watching how the fans and the Japanese team interact at the World Cup. If you go in and you see the room before the Japanese football team comes in, the Japanese soccer team comes in, it's spotless. It is a beautiful, lovely room. But then what you see happens is that the Japanese sports team, after they finish playing, they play and they clean it up and they leave it nice. Why is that important? Because they don't want to leave it for anyone else to do. They don't want to leave anyone else. They don't want to create a problem for anyone else. They want to create a situation where people don't have to worry about them. They remember them for what they did, not how they acted, not how they left the room. And the fans are the same. The fans, when they were in Saudi Arabia when they were in Qatar at the last World Cup, cleaned up after themselves. They left the stands spotless. They stayed and were cleaning up. And it was this awesome thing. And it inspired other people. I remember seeing all these videos of people from Qatar that were cleaning up with the Japanese. They were so excited to be part of that. Now, that comes from their values. That comes from what is important to them. And you have to figure out what's important to you. To me, I have been a children's teacher for a long time. And I understand that children need help. They need guidance, and they need somebody or some people that can show them the way. Because we see all of these people doing all these bad things every day in the news. They don't start bad. They don't start bad at all. They all start out as a little kid with ideas, a little kid seeking information. And it's up to our teachers to help with that, to guide people. And I also think teachers are the most underpaid job in the world. And I think that we should be really respecting teachers and paying these teachers more so that we get the best quality people guiding and shaping our youngest generation who becomes the future of our country, the future of our world. These are my values. And my values are part of my legacy. And as you begin to figure out what your values are, they can shape your legacy as well. Now, what is another element of a positive legacy? Actions. Now, we need to sometimes think about how actions and behaviors, both big and small, contribute to the legacy we leave behind. Now, I might feel and believe certain things, but unless I'm willing to act on that, it doesn't mean anything. I can say that I think the street in front of my house should be cleaner. I can say that I think that we all should contribute to making our world a more beautiful place. But unless I'm willing to do something about it, unless I'm willing to actually step up and do my part, then it's just words. It's just me talking. It is all about what action you are willing to take, because your legacy will only be shaped by the actions and behaviors that you put out into the world. So if you say that you want to spread world peace, but then you're going around and punching people in the face, that's not really, your legacy is not going to be spreading world peace. It's going to be punching people in the face. And if you want to be a UFC fighter, then that's a good legacy to have. Maybe you are the best fighter in the world, but you have to think about your actions. Your actions are representative of who you are. And we have that great saying in the English language: actions speak louder than words. And nowhere is that more true than in your legacy. You can talk all day, but people will remember you for what you did, not what you said. Now, what else is important? Relationships. Relationships are important for your legacy because these relationships include the lessons we teach, the love that we share, the people whose lives we have interacted with and changed for hopefully for the better. Now, this is up to you because we are all gifted with different number of relationships. How do you nurture that? How do you cultivate that? How do you make it better? How do you make the relationships around you more rich and beautiful and vibrant? Because it's like a plant. You can give someone a flower, but if you don't water it, if you don't give to that plant, that flower will eventually die. Same thing happens to relationships. Now, the thing about relationships that you have to remember, though, is that it's kind of almost electric. You might have a positive impact on this person, and that impact that you have on that person will just trickle out to the world around you. I tell my daughter all of these little wisdom drops as I go throughout my day all the time. And I forget about it. I forget about the things that I told her until I see her telling other people the same thing. And that just makes me feel good inside because I go, that right there, that was something that I spread. That was a seed that I planted. And in every relationship, we can have two choices. Do you want to build up the people around you? Or do you want to just be neutral or negative? To me, I like to plant seeds of positivity. And I think most people, I would say, would want to do the same, to spread this good vibe. But again, it comes back to your actions. How are you going to interact with people, and how do you want to cultivate these relationships? Because they are a core part of your legacy. And the last thing is achievements. Now, achievements are not the entirety of your legacy, but there are certain things that people accomplish that become a part of who you are. I am a graduate from university. That was something that I accomplished. I also am currently working on my MBA right now. That is part of a legacy that I want to leave, not just because I want to have a degree, but because I want to build a bigger business. And that business being part of my legacy, the media that I'm building out and putting out there, I want to be part of my legacy. And I'm learning how to do it better through my MBA. So that's part of my legacy. Your legacy might be that you're UFC champion, or maybe you are the winner of Vietnam Idol, like my wife. That's part of her legacy, which is awesome. No one else can say that they are the first winner of Vietnam Idol except for my wife. That is powerful. And that's something that you have to validate. What are the things that you have accomplished? Because achievements might not entirely define the person, but they do make up a big part of the legacy that you leave behind. Now, how do we start building your own legacy? Now, one of the things that's most important is intention, and really living each day intentionally with an eye toward the legacy that you're creating. And it can be simple as this. Is this act that I'm doing right now going to leave behind or contribute to what I want to leave behind, to the legacy that I want to leave behind? This video will be a video that I will post on my YouTube, and then I will be able to share it. And I don't know who's going to watch it. Hopefully some people will watch and listen to it. But I hope, and I really hope that someday my daughter will. And that this will be something that she can look at. And then maybe it can touch another person's life from her. Maybe someone who's just stumbling across some different podcasts and Spotify's will jump in on this and go, wow, that touched my life. And it started from the intention I had to sit down, set up my stuff, turn on my light, and start recording. It wasn't easy. I have been dealing with a massive creative block for weeks. Part of making this video was to try to help me get through that block because I feel really stuck. But with intention, I was able to take a step forward and able to look at, is this something that's going to be part of the legacy I want to leave? Now, how else can you build your own legacy? Kindness. Kindness and compassion can significantly contribute to one's legacy. There was a great story I heard about Dwayne Johnson where he was just, actually, I don't even think it was a story. I think it was just videos I saw where he was interacting with like everyday guy behind the scenes on a movie set. He was just treating them with kindness, treating them with respect, and being a genuinely awesome person. I have one of my favorite stories. I'm a huge Jeff Goldblum fan. I'm a huge Jeff Goldblum fan, from Jurassic Park to all of the Wes Anderson movies he's in. Life Aquatic is probably my favorite movie, hands down, ever. And I was standing in Whole Foods. Obviously, it's Whole Foods in Hollywood, West Hollywood, actually. And I hear this sweet melodic voice from behind me. What is that you're eating there? I can't do a Jeff Goldblum impression. But I had this big, tasty burrito that I had gotten from Whole Foods. And I look over, and I was just not in a great mood that day. And I just was like, who is this? And what do they want? And I look up, and there's Jeff Goldblum towering over me. He's a tall man. And I was just like, oh, dear goodness, that's Jeff Goldblum. You're Jeff Goldblum. It's like, wow, this is amazing. And, my one chance to talk to Jeff Goldblum was to chat with him about a burrito and Whole Foods. But what I remember about the man is just this amazing level of kindness, of just being really nice, really nice. I had another opportunity to meet another one of my favorite celebrities a long time ago. And it was not a nice memory. I remember walking into the restaurant and I saw this guy, and I grew up loving this guy's comedies. And I was like, hey, you are, I'm not going to throw him under the bus right now. And he said, yeah, I am. Who cares? And it's just like, how bad. Sorry about that. I didn't mean to offend you. And I stepped away, and he just stormed off, and he was just not a nice guy. He was yelling at people. He was just rude. It's sad. But the way you treat people is a big part of your legacy. So be kind. Treat people with compassion. Treat people with respect. If you can, help people around you. If you see someone who's fallen down, help them up. If you see someone who's hurting, see if there's anything that you can do to help. If you see someone who needs to be listened to, be the person who listens. Whatever it is that people might need, try to be that. Another way that I love contributing to legacy is lifelong learning. Knowledge and growth is an essential part of a person's legacy because we can always be better. We can always be learning and sharing that information. I am so excited right now because I just recently got back into Muay Thai with my wife and my daughter. And I love Thai boxing. I love Muay Thai. And to be able to have my daughter go with me has been amazing and brought to me a level of joy that I just am really over the moon to be able to be there and learning this with my wife and daughter. But that's not the only thing I'm learning. I'm also learning computer coding. I'm doing an online full stack developer program because, hey, I'm all about trying to diversify and find different ways to make money and to get ahead. And it's something that's really interesting to me. So I'm trying to learn. Maybe it turns into something, maybe it doesn't, but I can still try to be better and learn. I'm also learning. I'm doing my MBA right now to try to learn more about business so I can have a more successful business of my own. I love to play guitar and I'm always trying to get better, but you have to practice. You have to try. But those experiences that you bring in, the information you bring in, you can put into the stuff that you create, the relationships that you nurture. It can become part of you. And people will remember these things that you do. One of the last things that I say is important to building your own legacy is think about goals. Both personal and professional goals that align with the legacy that you want to leave behind. For me, I am actively trying to build a lot of great kids content with Ailani's Little World, because over the last couple of years, as my daughter's grown, I just honestly think that the content that's out there for kids is not that great. And we don't have a huge following yet. But one of the things that I'm trying to do is to build as much media coverage as I can and to get as much content out as I can so that people can find us, so that people can go and find really good content that teaches kids and helps them learn and grow. Because to me, that's part of the legacy I want to leave. I think back about someone like Fred Rogers, Mr. Rogers, who left behind an amazing legacy and so many lives that were touched by the kids' content he put out. I think about all of these amazing podcasters that I listen to that put out this content that is so empowering. And that's beautiful. And so for me, that's a goal I have. But for you, what is it that you want to be part of your personal or professional goals that are part of the legacy you want to leave? And maybe you feel scared to try some things. Maybe you feel like it's not possible or it's not for you. What I would say is this: you won't know unless you try. Maybe you want to make that movie. Maybe you want to write that book. Maybe you want to open that business. Give it a try. There is nothing standing in the way of you trying. So try. See what you can accomplish. See if you are capable of being better, of being more. Because you've got one chance. You've got one shot. Do the best you can and see what you can create. Now, in conclusion, we looked at some different ways to create a legacy. We looked at why it's important. We talked a little bit about what a legacy is and some people with interesting legacies. Well, I want to call you to action. I want to encourage you to think about what is your legacy. If you died today, what would people say about you? How long would they talk about you? How long would your impact last after you're gone? That is a great question to ask. And it's a great question to start thinking about, because if you sit there and come up with an answer that you don't like, you still have time. You still have time to make changes, to make changes in your life that reflect your values and the kind of legacy that you want to leave behind, to make changes that will change your song, your story, the story that future generations will tell about you, the books that are written about you. What type of impact do you want to leave? Think about that question and start making the changes in your life to reflect that. We've got one chance. Wish you all well. And this week, I challenge you all to think a little bit about the legacy that you are leaving in your life. All right? Have a good one. I'll see you next time.